Pledge of Allegiance or something. Turn down real fast.
Sit down. You're done.
We got Ham Russell's on the phone. So I think we got everybody. Hopefully.
Something's humming.
Yeah, I'm not. Okay, we're going to do this old-fashioned way again until we get charged. All right, it is the witching hour of 6 o'clock, and I call the meeting to order. The board has previously met in executive session, so I need a motion to reconvene in open session. So moved.
Second that motion.
Motion by Cassie, second by Dave. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. We are in open session. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is board elections. It's that time of year when we get to choose chair, vice chair, treasurer, clerk, all that kind of stuff. So generally we start with the chair. Do we have any nominations for chair?
Madam Chairman, I nominate Jamie Bracken as the chair for this year.
All right, and do we need a second for that?
Yes.
Yeah, we do need a second for that.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations?
Madam Chairman, I move the nomination cease.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Second from Dave. All right. Nominations are closed. We have a motion to name Jamie Bracken as chair. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We have vice chair. Currently, the vice chair is Mr. Bennett. Do we have a motion or nominations for vice chair? I will vacate chair and make a motion to name Dave Bennett vice chair.
Knew it.
You knew it.
I'll second it.
A second by Krista. I vacated chair and made the motion. And a second by Krista. Do we have any other nominations for vice chair? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Anybody want it? Hey. Seeing none. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of Dave being vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right. On to treasurer. The current treasurer is Mr. Fackrell, I believe. Yes? No?
One of those two.
David Peterson's, or Cassie's the clerk and Kay's the treasurer.
Yes, Kay's the treasurer and Cassie's the clerk, yeah. All right, do we have nominations for treasurer?
I nominate Mr. Fackrell for treasurer.
That way we doesn't have to sign, nobody has to sign more bank stuff.
I seconded.
Okay, second.
It's a busy job.
That's the best one. Okay, any other nominations for treasurer?
Who seconded?
Dave did. Seeing none, all those in favor of Mr. Fackrell being the treasurer, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're moving along, and we have clerk, last but not least. Cassie is our current clerk. Do we have any nominations?
I'll nominate Cassie.
And I'll second that.
Okay, I'm going to give it to the nomination to Dave and the second to Kay. Any other nominations? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, we have a board, and thank you, Cassie, for covering my bacon last month.
Of course.
She's got experience.
She does, and she's awesome. All right, next we need to approve the agenda.
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
A second by Caleb. Any discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on to the consent agenda items, we have the minutes from November 5th, payment of the bills, second reading for policy BCA, second reading for policy BDDF, second reading for policy DJAA/EFA. Ugh. Side note, I hate this. The official newspaper and the depositories for district funds. Those are the items on the consent agenda. Do we have anyone that wants to remove anything from the consent agenda? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second that motion.
Second by Dave. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Terrific. School reports, who's on deck?
I'm going to jump up while they're coming up, I don't know. Sure, someone's coming up. This is just burning a hole in my hand, so I want to get it. We have a certificate from Wyoming School Boards for Mr. David Bennett. David, certificate of official recognition for completing prescribed requirements to become a Wyoming School Board Associate Certified School Board Member. So attendance at those conferences do pay off. You get a nice thing.
Well, thank you.
And a frame, there you go.
Number 2.
Congratulations, Dave.
I got one of these.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Dave, for representing us.
Indeed.
That was a year ago.
I know that.
So, we'd just like to do a little bit of a summary kind of report on PLC training that some of our teachers have been going to. At Horizon, I think I've had almost all of my staff attend PLC Institute. Half of them went to Las Vegas, the ones, and the new folks went with the content area teams from EHS. So I invited Mr. Hengesteg, our new social studies teacher, up here to talk about the one that he participated in most recently with the social studies teachers from EHS. And then I think EHS has another one. They're going to talk about the RTI conferences a little bit. So
Great.
With that, I'm going to have Arnie get up here.
Come on up.
All right. Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for letting me talk to you a little bit. So it was a great opportunity for me, the PLC training, being new to the district. I got to really get on board with what you as a district are trying to do. And kind of moving forward in. And it also was a wonderful opportunity for me because I went with the EHS social studies crowd who I PLC with. And I got to have this experience with them. And so coming back now, we're able to always look back on the training we had at the conference and refer back to that and the notes we have. And there's been quite a bit of that where it's like, oh, somebody said it. Who said it? Was it Mattis or Muhammad? Two of the speakers, and then refer back to the lectures they gave or the resources they provided us. So I think that's been a wonderful experience. For me, it cleared up a lot of loose ends on the PLC process. There were just so many speakers that were dealing with districts that had varied backgrounds. I think about Mohammed, and he taught somewhere back east, or maybe it was Michigan comes to mind, and he was dealing with a school that was 90% poverty, and he was able to really improve scores in that school, and he had just a whole series of strategies for doing that and maintaining academic rigor, and really making sure that this process that he was going through and working through was backed by good data. And he provided a lot of information in his talk about all the data that he had to support his ideas, and I thought that was great too. So I think that was huge for me as well. Mohammed came from, again, like I said, a background where he dealt with a lot of what we would call at-risk students, which is the population that I'm working with. And so that also gave me some great background on what I should expect and what the at-risk group can achieve, and some strategies for that group as well. And I think those strategies don't just apply to the at-risk students. I think they go all the way down the line. I think it's just the consistency and then just trying these approaches and then having the data to back it up to see what's working, what's truly working. So I guess just kind of summarize, I feel like we're a more cohesive group because of this and going, I think it was great for me to go with my content, the same content people, because I just really we were able to talk about that. How are we going to approach it unit by unit as we move through the material we teach these students right here. So.
Good. Sounds like, yeah, I'm glad you found it beneficial.
Oh, that's huge, yeah. You have any questions for me?
Well, great.
Okay.
No, glad to hear it's working.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, from Evanston High School, I brought Mr. Conrad. He's the lead of our social studies. I was able to go with him to the RTI conference. He was unable to attend with the social studies crowd, but he does a great job with them. I asked him to talk about how that work comes together and the work they've been doing. Part of that is I feel we work really well with Horizon. It's kind of a team effort, and I appreciate Mr. Hamilton's efforts there too, because it's pretty seamless. But I want Nate to talk just a little about that.
Madam President and Chairman, members of the board, I'm pleased to be here. Like Scott said, I'm a special education teacher up at the Evanston High School, and a content area of social studies. And so I kind of do a dual role, and I work closely with the social studies team. Like Scott said, I was unable to attend with the rest of the social studies, but the week prior, I went to a response to intervention training, the RTI. In Phoenix the week prior, and what we've done since I attended that training and the social studies went and attended their PLC training in San Diego the following week, we've come back and we've actually really been able to focus our work as a team to improve our PLC process. We've done a lot of work, we've done a lot of talking and a lot of training as a district and as a department on what to do in the PLC, but as a social studies team, in the past we've been kind of unfocused. We've made strides and we made attempts to create a viable and validated curriculum, but with the training that we've got, we've found ourselves very, very focused on working towards creating unit plans for our units with very clear and distinct priority standards. And from that work, we've identified, what does it mean to reach that standard? What does it mean for our students to be proficient? And identify the process that we are going to take those students to reach that proficiency. We've also been able to establish a more clear mission and vision for our social studies team. In fact, actually, the last couple of weeks, we've worked together, and I think we're one of the few, if not the only department at the high school that has actually established a departmental mission for our team. And so this is what we came up with, and we worked together as a team to create this. Our mission statement for the social studies department at Evanston High School is: social studies department will work to push all students to achieve high level of learning to be successful in life following high school. And so as a team, we've decided that that's what we want to ensure, that every student that comes into our classroom is going to be pushed at high levels so that they are prepared for whatever they do after high school. Be it they go off to college or they go straight to work, whatever it is, we are going to better prepare them for that by having a clear, rigorous curriculum that is going to push them and achieve the best work that we can out of our students. And to help with that mission, we've also established a vision. And our vision is that our students will read at a high level, determine how to state a claim, and support and defend it with factual evidence, and develop good citizenship behaviors. So as a social studies team, we're going to ensure that we, as we create our unit plans, that we are working towards achieving those three things in everything that we do. That the students are reading at high levels, that they are determining how to make a claim, and then support that with factual evidence, and then to develop good citizenship behavior.
And thank you for including that.
And we felt that that was something that would be very positive for our student body, and to push us forward and make improvements within the small area that we have on the very north end of that building as the students work with us. This has all come from the RTI training that I attended, added with what was brought in by the other members of our team from the PLC training. Those two trainings have been very beneficial. Our department, we have a new drive, we have a new goal, we have a new direction that we're pushing towards, and we're heading in a direction I think that is going to bring forth changes within us, the students, as we work with them over. Now, the work's not done, and we're continuing pushing forward, and hopefully in a year we can look back and see bigger changes, and then look forward to what can we do next. So,
Great.
Any questions?
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Do you have any other school reports? Okay. Yes, absolutely.
Takes a while to get up out of that seat.
Yeah. Madam Chair, members of the board, I just quickly wanted to recognize Special Olympics. We have had students compete on the local level, on the state level, on the national level. This year, I'm really excited to announce that Briar Faddis has been nominated from the state of Wyoming to compete on the world's level in Sweden.
That's awesome.
In 2021, so he'll be practicing with Team USA in snowshoeing in Denver, somewhere in Colorado this February, and then the following year we'll be representing the United States of America for
That's awesome.
the Special Olympics. Also, Coach Dave DeRue has been nominated from the state of Wyoming to be a National Coach of the Year through Special Olympics. So
terrific.
We just got phenomenal student athletes across the board, phenomenal coaches and parents, and support from the board and from our administration and our teachers. It's just one of the healthiest parts of Evanston athletics. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. All right, moving on to our discussion items. The first item on the list is the WSBA conference report. Ryan, do you want to start that?
Sure. Jamie and I did attend, even though we never saw each other.
We never saw each other.
Some of that's due to the weather. I can tell you that how the conference starts for me is I meet with the other superintendents in the state, and that's probably the best part of the conference for me. We spent a lot of time talking about the computer science standards and kind of the expectations moving forward with those. There was recently a ruling that put us in a better position than we were 2 weeks ago, and it looks like the standards will move forward, and our ability to prioritize those standards, like the other ones that we have done, are still in place. Totally not out of the woods yet, but we think those will be approved. And that's for the 2022-23. They have to be adopted by then, so we still have some time. Saw a presentation by our committee today that's working on implementing those before that date. So pretty impressive where the district is with that. We were always pretty good with technology, but seeing how we do this K-12 and meeting the standards will be good. It is a challenge throughout the state, and I think we're in a good place with that challenge. So anyway, that's kind of the takeaway. Just one point, it is recognized now that the issue of the way 21.3.132 was written, which is the concealed carry that dealt with a rule instead of a policy, has now become, I guess, understood and problematic in the state, as current legislation is being written that includes the terms rules and the rulemaking procedures. And schools are finally standing up and saying that's not the intent. You've put us in a bad spot by making us do that. So we were recognized by Wyoming School Boards and the Superintendents Association for being a leader, recognizing the problem with that language. So hopefully we can get it changed by our legislators. So the new legislation will include the term policy and policy development at the local level. So anyway, I thought that was
Big.
yeah, it was big for us. So some of the hassles we went through apparently helped the state. So anyway. The other part of my report is the opening session. We had a presentation by a gentleman that works for the Happiness Advantage, Sean Anker, and his materials, and a very good presentation. The whole point is that many believe that success leads to happiness. Well, the point of the Orange Frog is that happiness leads to success. Very positive approach to the way things are going with all the social-emotional issues in schools. Probably, again, the most interesting thing just shocked me. Showed 38 organizations that have been implementing the Orange Frog philosophy. So here are all the people in those conferences, and here's Uinta County School District No. 1's the old symbol. About 2 years ago, I was trained in the Orange Frog stuff, and they consider us an organization that is implementing the Orange Frog strategy. So did have a couple people from the state saying, what have you guys done and how have you done it? So again, little recognition in the state never hurts. So and this guy's a national presenter, travels all over the United States presenting this, and here's Evanston, Wyoming, plastered to one of 38 organizations that recognize the importance of social emotional education. So that's what I took away from it. And a 7.5-hour drive on the way back. I didn't get anyone stuck other than myself. Just stopped on I-80 for 2.5 hours. But
Geez, that seems to be a norm, huh?
no, it's a scary norm. I don't think we'll ever get Cassie to one of those things again.
While Ryan was at the superintendent's meeting, I was at the delegate assembly. You guys had voted on 7 resolutions last month, and I just wanted to sort of update you on what passed and what didn't and sort of what happened. So the first one, the early childhood education, passed on the consent agenda. There was no issue with that. The access to high-quality pre-kindergarten programs also passed on the consent agenda. The funding for school safety and security was actually pulled from the consent agenda. There was an amendment made from the floor about including mental health services as part of that public safety, school safety program, and funding that school safety, including the mental health component, which I was thrilled for. So with the amendment, it also passed. The reduction in statewide assessment monitoring, that passed. The mandatory attendance age failed. It was pulled from the consent agenda and discussed and failed. I don't think anybody's surprised about that one.
You got the 18-year-old one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm glad that failed.
The confidentiality of school safety discussions, that one passed.
Oh, with the 7-year-old too?
Yeah, and then the last one was the revisions to the teacher suspension process. That was actually withdrawn by the sponsor. But it was discussed, and the takeaway from the discussion is it's not the 45-day rule that's the problem, and that's what they were trying to amend. That's not the problem. The problem is that mandating we use this one office to get the hearings done rather than be able to select our own ALJs like we used to. That's the problem. So I think the WSBA got a clear message from most of the delegates that what we want to do is go back, and if we can't get somebody out of the office, we get to pick our own kind of thing. So although it wasn't necessarily a resolution, I think it was a pretty clear message.
That's good.
And so we were thrilled with that, quite frankly.
We discussed that too in our group, and part of the issue, I think, and Jeff has a very good perspective of this, is because of the way the statute's written about April 15th, you have to notify individuals they're going to be returning.
Right.
If you are going to dismiss someone, you don't need to do it by April 15th. You can actually start the process
Earlier.
as early as we want. Again, that was a learning curve for us, and now we understand that. We won't wait until April 15th, because
If you know it, then do it.
April 15th, when we did that, we weren't going to have a hearing until October, wasn't it? October or November.
Well, and what they said was because, they were thinking the 45 days was a problem because the Office of Administrative Hearings, or whatever it's called, I can't remember, but they would send an ALJ out, they would start the hearing, and then they'd postpone it for, 6 months. That's ridiculous. Let us just find our own.
Well, that was the
everybody can agree on.
other part of the discussion is, once you start that process, do you have to continue to pay the individual? And that's where the discussion, I think, will go in legislation, is if there's that process, if there's been a
Right,
date.
and there's
if it-
federal law that says if prior to taking away their property right, we have to keep paying them until it's taken away, so I don't know that we're ever going to win that one.
We're stuck on that one.
We're going to be stuck on that one, but what we can do is have the hearing within 45 days
Yes.
if we're allowed to pick our own ALJs.
Yes, much better.
So,
Because we're paying for it.
because we're paying for it, and, right, and it's sort of,
That's a fairly recent change. We
It
used
is.
to pick our own.
yes, we used to pick our own, and then,
And we shared the cost.
and
Yeah.
the thinking was, gee, it'll save the district so much money if we have the state do it. Well, no, because what we end up doing is paying our staff that we'd have a decision on within 45 days, and otherwise, we're now paying them into the next contract year, because we haven't had a hearing yet, so it doesn't save us any money, and we'd rather just hire our own. There was one floor resolution on the transportation or maintenance for isolated pupils, the payments that are made for the isolated pupils. So apparently there was a determination made, a sort of an administrative determination made, that you could get reimbursed for driving to the bus stop and reimbursed for driving back from the bus stop, but not the round trip both ways. In other words, I can leave my house and go to the bus stop, but going home I don't get reimbursed for, and then when I go back to the bus stop and pick them up, I'm not reimbursed, but when I drive them home, I am, which was just silly. So the resolution, it's just, seriously, how much money are you saving? Anyway, so the resolution was, let's do 2 round trips to and from school or to and from the bus stop or whatever for these isolated student payments, and so that passed from the floor. So that's my report.
Thank you for your service.
And I got home faster than Ryan did because I got really impatient. I was terrified I was going to miss my flight the next day.
Yeah,
And,
you would be, I would be too.
yeah, and I was going to be stranded in Casper. It was like, ah! So I thank heavens had a district 4-wheel drive and took the back roads home and actually got home just as fast as I would have had I-80 been clear, so. Yeah.
Wow.
So next year, we know the dates, you guys just schedule it in and schedule 7 to 8 hours on the way home, but.
Just schedule being snowed in, and there you go. Okay, next on the agenda, we have our board meeting schedule for next year.
Madam Chair, members of the board, it is included in your packet. Basically, it's following the same structure that we do this year. The meetings, we start for that 2021 in July, and again, it's the third Wednesday. Then after that, it's the first Tuesday, with the work session being on the third Tuesdays. We haven't had to use any work sessions except for, I think, a special hearing this year, so I think that seems to be working well.
Right.
We will vote on this next month. Again, you have opportunities to discuss if that's not working and make changes. One of the things that we, again, just want to emphasize, that when they're on the first of the month, we may not be able to get all of the checks, bills. It may have to wait a month to get those because they were just finished the day before. Warrants, board reports, so it may be a month delayed, but you'll still see them all.
No, I think we knew that, and we're okay with that, and
Okay.
I don't know that anybody's been bothered by that.
So, we moved that to accommodate
Me?
who? Okay, you? Well, that's fine with me, I just wanted to remember. It's good. If it accommodates you, you're the chair, you should be accommodated.
No, it was, I have obligations on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays already, so
But it works.
it does work.
Good.
Russell, is that going to work with your schedule?
It actually will work with that schedule. So I made some changes myself and swapped to a 4-week rotation So although I'll be out pretty consistently every other, instead of missing meetings for like 6 months and then attending for 6 months.
Terrific. It'll be good to see you, instead of hearing you.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll be on for next month's
Sounds like
approval.
just consent agenda.
Yeah, just consent agenda, probably. All right, next we have the first reading of policy IGBC, which is the homeless children policy.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the board, this came as a recommendation from Wyoming Department of Ed and Wyoming School Boards. Wyoming Department of Ed has really encouraged that, it's partly being politically correct, that they use the term youth in transition. And that's what this means, because potentially that's confusing. Youth in transition in this policy means individuals who lack a fixed, regular, or adequate nighttime residence. So it's not any other kind of transition. I guess that's been a confusion throughout the state.
Seriously, they
Shouldn't
didn't
be,
figure that out? Okay.
So, but on top of that, this replaces our old IGBCs. That's why you don't see any redlined. That came from the recommendation of Matt and his team. Matt is responsible for McKinney-Vento, which is our homeless, and the updates in this policy were needed and we're in compliance with. So our recommendation is that we approve this policy as written. Again, we took the one that came from Wyoming School Boards, but I sent it to Matt, made a few changes, and we believe that this is what we need to do for our youth in transition.
And so we'll have the motion under the action items to
Yes.
approve on first reading. Okay.
Adequate nighttime.
Terrific. Oh, sorry, Cassie, go ahead.
You were going to ask any discussion.
Yes.
Sorry.
Well, I was going to say any conversation from the public, because that's next. Public comment is next. So
Can we can discuss the
Yeah,
policy though?
this
'cause I have
is actually not going to be approved. First reading will be in January.
Oh, okay, so it's not on for tonight.
So you're welcome to discuss it.
Yeah,
That's what we
no,
have it
if you
for.
have questions on this one, ask now.
I do.
Yes, no.
So I just had a couple of things. So just the policy itself, under services, it mentions the first one, and I know that this is coming from all sorts of directions, but the preschool programs, and I mean, I'm definitely supportive of the preschool programs, but this is one of our policies, and since we
Yeah.
don't have that, I just don't know if we need to include it in our
And I was going to
policy.
remove them because we don't have those, but the way they were written, it's kind of as if you have them. So again, I didn't want to mess it up too much, but to me, that makes sense. Like I said, that was one of the reasons why I did make some changes. It was with programs that we don't offer and wouldn't offer. But there are still some preschool programs in here that it does infer that if you offer them, this is the way it would be, so. And we
Like I
don't.
said, I'm not opposed, I
We
just.
might someday though, I mean, that's.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
a reason to keep it in.
Okay.
One of the things that we're charged with is through our responsibilities, every district in the country has to have a McKinney-Vento liaison. And one of the things we've been asked to do is reach out to our community counterparts and do trainings, and that if we know that we have a student in the public ed system that does qualify for McKinney-Vento, that we notify these entities, because they, again, by law, have to keep certain spaces open for kiddos that qualify for that. So point well taken, it's not directly under our purview, but as a community, we do work together to make sure that those children are being identified in this.
Okay, absolutely. So-
Well put.
Thanks for that clarification. Like I said, I'm not opposed to it, so. And then, I don't know, does the referral stand alone as policy? The referral form?
No, again, it's an exhibit.
Exhibit,
I was going to say exhibition. It's an exhibit.
No.
And the reason why we leave it as an exhibit is so we can change it to meet our
okay.
needs.
Okay,
But again, I wanted you guys to see what we're currently using. And this came directly from Matt and his team.
the only thing I just want to make sure that we can change it is because it does list Matt as the liaison, which we always want to keep you around as the liaison.
But you may not always be here.
But, yeah, so I just want to make sure that we can.
That'd be easy. It's just that district computer.
Yeah, district liaison.
I just a couple little things I saw.
No, good, I mean, they're great questions, so thank you very
And
much.
that was it with those.
Yeah, just to clarify, and hopefully I can do that. If you see the IGBCE, that is what you're referring to. So it's just the form we use to track this.
And the dash E means that it's an exhibit that we can fix.
It's an exhibition.
Not an exhibition. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Great. Okay, moving on to the public comment. Wow.
Don't rush.
I don't think I've seen it this empty in a long time. Okay, doesn't look like we have any public comment. Let's,
Merry Christmas.
yeah, exactly. Let's move on to action items. First item on the agenda is to approve a personnel for the concealed carry. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel discussed in executive session?
Madam Chair, I'll make that.
Okay, Caleb makes a motion to approve. Any second?
I'll second it.
Second by Dave. Can't really discuss. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Board appointments. So I think Ryan has sent out to everybody who was doing what.
Sherry did.
Anybody want to make any changes, I guess is my real question.
So I'm still doing BOCES?
Yeah, so you would still do
That's fine.
BOCES. Krista, you would still do BOCES.
I'm on BOCES.
And you're on BOCES. I'm on, well, you're in the BOCES here in Evanston. I'm on BOCES 5. Kay, you're on nothing right now? Okay, and you want to keep it that way, is what you're telling me?
I think you should go to the Park and Rec.
I was on there.
Josh
Well,
Welling.
I was going to say, he was there for a long time. Caleb, you're on rec, aren't you? No, which one are you on? You're on BOCES, okay. And Cassie? Okay.
So can you clarify, Madam Chair, who's on the Mentor One BOCES?
UN1 BOCES is Caleb, David,
Wait,
Krista,
Okay, we have that
and
wrong.
Dave Bennett. Dave Peterson and Dave Bennett.
Right, I'm the chair.
So did Jenny get off?
Jenny wasn't on.
Jenny wasn't on the BOCES.
It was Tammy.
It
But
was
she's on there now.
Tammy
Tammy's.
that was on there.
Tammy was on
And then
there,
I
so we
replaced
replaced Tammy with Dave.
Yeah, we have that wrong. So it's David, Jenny,
No, David Bennett, David Peterson, Krista, and Caleb.
okay. We'll get that right.
Yeah. And then I'm BOCES 5.
Tomorrow night, so that'll probably change.
The rec,
Josh Welling is gone now, so.
yeah, Josh Welling is gone. I don't know
But
the,
we asked Josh if he wanted to stay.
right,
as
and he was
representative.
still representing us, even though he's not a board member, we approved him to continue representing us on the Parks and Rec Board, and I think he's still willing to do that.
Yes.
So that's base,
Yeah.
and then Bubba, no, who else is on the rec?
Jenny Welling,
Cody and Bubba.
Cody Bateman and Bubba.
Cody and Bubba, and I think they're still willing to serve, correct? Okay. So with those people, do I have a motion to approve the appointments on the various boards?
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the board appointments for those different organizations.
Second?
Second by Kay. Any other discussion?
Get that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that carries.
Yeah.
Now we have a second reading of policy JHF, oh my gosh. Student safety crisis intervention.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this was pulled from the consent agenda because we had some clarifications and some changes. I actually left them in red, so you can see, hopefully, they make more sense. We've identified who the qualified professionals are. I do think it reads much better and recommend that you approve this at second reading.
We don't do any training for the students on how to report suicides when they know about it. Do we want to include anything about that, training students on how to report when their friends say something?
I believe they actually do that in health class. So
Do
as
they?
ninth grade students, they do go through that suicide prevention training.
We've also had the, is it safe to tell,
Yep.
training?
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve on second reading, policy JHF? This says -R, but it's just,
Yeah, so let me kind of explain. What we did is we made probably very few changes to the JHF, which didn't have any concerns. We left the regulation, that's where we changed the wording.
Right.
And so you're actually approving JHF and JHFR.
Two separate
regulation.
motions.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first motion would be to approve policy JHF.
I move that we approve policy JHF, student safety crisis intervention.
I second that. Second by Krista. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the regulation JHFR?
And I'll move that we'll approve that one as well.
I'll second that. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second for JHFR. Any other discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Terrific. Okay, motion carries. We are at roundtable. Start at Cassie's end, anybody? No?
Let me
Okay.
think. You can keep going.
Okay, no? All right. Wow, you guys are making this really fast. Guess what? We're done.
I do want to wish everybody
A Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Good point, Kevin.
Yes. So thank you guys very much. We're keeping it short for you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Right? Less than an hour. Come on, that's a record.
Yes, it is.
Motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second. All right. All in favor? Aye. Thank you guys very much.
Who was the second?
Caleb was.
Caleb.
He beat me by
I
like.
have something for advice.